What's going on, boys? I'm back. Another deck profile. This time with the Danger Kaiju deck. I got a comment on the video that I posted before, so I felt like I should make another one of these videos. I love Kaijus. I love the Danger engine, so this is definitely one of my favorites. Let's just hop right into it with Danger Jackalope, the first card. The whole Danger engine has the same basic effect, where you declare that you have the card, then your opponent chooses a card, but in Master Duel it just happens automatically. And then if they don't pick it, you get to activate the Danger's effect. And if they do pick it, you discard it, and that discard has another effect. So usually people pair Dangers with Dark World or other discarding cards, but I've found that Danger just works good enough as like on its own, that you can just flood it with Kaijus and then use those for their strengths as well. Because you're not really afraid of discarding too many Kaijus, you only really need one. So Jackalope is limited to 2 because it's so good. The best little boy ever, that you can't have 3. The main thing with him is if you do discard him, then you get to add you get to special summon defense mode Danger from your deck, which is really good. I usually like to use it for Thunderbird, which might sound a little weird. Usually people use Nessie, but I'll explain that in a second. I skipped over Ash because it's obvious. Then you got, I run 2 Tsuchis, 2 Tsuchinokos. Some people run it at 3, but I think it's a little redundant. It's essentially, it takes away the RNG element of Dangers, because whether or not it gets picked, it just gets special summoned anyway. So it's, it's good for just dumping resources onto the field for like link plays, but the way I play the deck, that's not really going to be necessary. So I just run 2 as an engine extender and potential for link plays if I need them. 2 Chupacabra. He's like a monster reborn. You either get to special summon him, or if you have another Danger in your graveyard, you can special summon that, which is really helpful, but not as like a combo starter. He's more of an extender. Mothman, 2 Mothman. You don't want to clog it too much with 3s, because there's a lot of monsters in this deck. If you discard him, you draw a card and discard a card. Or both players do, in fact, which is kind of just like a built-in Dark World dealings. It's helpful, like, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card, because it forces your opponent to mill something, and if their deck doesn't like graveyard plays, that could be huge. And also, you can automatically force another discard effect, just by proccing Mothman, which is huge. Then 2 Nessie. Nessie's one of the classics, one of the staples, gets the fancy animation. When you discard Nessie, you can add a Danger card from your deck to your hand. So you can, Nessie can enable Bigfoot, and Jackalope can enable Thunderbird, which is really useful. I'll skip ahead for a second. Then you get Bigfoot. I actually like to run Bigfoot at 3. It might seem kind of different from other deck lists, where you kind of focus your 3s on your combo pieces, and then your boss monster might be at 2, but I think Bigfoot is just so good. This guy's absolutely insane. If you actually build around him, he's more than just an engine. He is a game ender. If you discard him, you just destroy a face-up card on your opponent's side of the field. Or, you can special summon a free level 8, 3000 attack, essentially like a Blue Eyes White Dragon, just for free if they pick anything else. And then Thunderbird is the same as Bigfoot, except he has a little less attack in exchange for way more defense, and he destroys set cards instead of face-up cards. So Thunderbird is like the back row equivalent to Bigfoot. I also run him at 3, and you'll see why in a second. Let's go back up to the Kaijus. I run Dogoron at 1. I would probably run them at 2 if I had 2 of them, but I got really unlucky with my URs. So instead, I run 3 Gamma Seals. It's not always the best, but it can actually enable plays, which is nice. And he's the one that you really want to be giving to your opponent, because he has the lowest attack. If you didn't know kaijus, they special summon to your opponent's side of the field. I feel like everyone should know this by now. You tribute one monster that they control and then replace it with your kaiju. It's the ultimate form of destruction, because there are very, very few cards that can't be tributed. So if they have something like a Chaos Max Dragon, for instance, you can just tribute it, because there is no targeting and no destruction involved in tributing a monster. If they have like a Baron de Fleur, you can just tribute it, and it doesn't have a chance to negate anything because there's nothing being activated. It's definitely a good get-out-of-jail-free card. If you don't already have a Gamma Seal floating around just as a tech card, you definitely should. And then going back down, you got Thunder King, the King Ghidorah of the archetype. None of their effects matter, by the way. None of the kaijus, actually, their effects, they don't matter. You just want big number. Big number, punch man, he die. It's what kaijus do best. You just smash buildings, make a ruckus. That's all you need to do. So I just run 2 Thunder King and 2 of this giant spiky guy, the Star Destroyer, because they have the highest attack of the kaijus. So the hope is that you have 4 and 4. You have 4 kaijus that you're going to be giving to your opponent, 4 kaijus you're going to be giving to yourself. And then the secret tech, the secret sauce that makes this deck actually good is this guy. It looks like a giant pile of spaghetti on the card, but arch nemesis. This thing's insane. This thing's crazy. You can special summon it from your hand, banish 3 monsters of different types from your graveyard or from your field, and then this thing can declare a monster type and destroy all those monsters of that type, and then until the end of the next turn, neither players can special summon monsters of that type. So in my example video, I was against a rock deck. So once I got this guy on the field, I could declare rock, and they were just locked out of playing their entire deck, which was pretty insane. A lot of main decks will have the same type, like, you know, spellcaster decks, zombie decks. But a cool thing about kaijus and dangers alike is that they all have different types. You got machine, thunder, aqua, dinosaur in your kaijus. Then in your dangers, you have beast, reptile, fiend, insect, another beast, winged beast, aqua. So just by naturally discarding your danger engine, let's say you discard a jackalope into a Nessie into a Bigfoot, right? Then you can automatically summon this guy. It makes it so easy to summon him. Or let's say you've given your opponent a Gamma Seal, and you've done like a Thunderbird, and then your opponent does a Link play and puts the Gamma Seal back in your graveyard. Now you have the materials to make this guy. I don't run him at any more than 1, because if you end up with 2 of them, you're just kind of fucked. And you can't really search him anyway. He's like, he's the ultimate destiny draw. You draw him, you win. You don't draw him, you might still win. He's just like he's like a alternate win condition that just kind of sits there. Really forces your opponent to play smart. Then, I like my Raigeki. It's nice to have. It's just reliable. I like my Monster Reborn. I like to steal my opponent's monsters, what can I say? And also, it can be very helpful in conjunction with how many ways you can destroy monsters. The Monster Reborn just has so much more versatility in the fact that you can force so many things to the graveyard in so many ways. Then I like this card, a classic from the GX era, Monster Reincarnation. Discard 1 card, then target a monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So it's a really interesting concept, because it synergizes with the dangers really well. What you can do is, if you already have a Bigfoot in your graveyard from using it earlier, or having like bad luck with the danger rolls, you can discard any one of your dangers that you want, proc their discard, and then add like your Bigfoot or like one of your kaijus back to your hand. It just is a huge play enabler. Because let's say you discard Mothman, you get back your like kaiju. Let's say you get back your Gamma Seal. Now you get to do the Mothman effect, and now you have another kaiju as ammunition for the game. I run it at 2, just because it's a little cheesy. But it is a really cool tech card for Dark World Danger kind of decks, and I don't really see it ever. I feel like people write it off as being a bad monster reborn. But I think it has potential. The main reason I started playing Kaijus in Master Duel, Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, it's at 3. I don't know why it's at 3. It should be at 1. I think in the TCG it's at 1, if I'm not mistaken. At one point I think it had to have been, if it's not currently. But yeah, this thing is just Dark Hole, and then if it went off successfully, you get to choose a Kaiju to put on their field and a Kaiju to put on your field. So if you're going second and you just have this, and they don't have something that's like undestructible on their side of the field, you can just pop this, nuke the whole field, give them a Gamma Seal, give yourself a Thunder King, and you're suddenly at a huge card advantage. It's insane. And then you can kill your own Gamma Seal and then try to bring him back with one of these. The fact that this is at 3 is crazy. The fact that I can have it at 3 at all is crazy. Definitely run it at 3, never less. And what you're hoping for, having 8 kaijus total, is that each time you draw this, you still have 2 kaijus in the deck to actually proc it. If you are that unlucky that you have drawn into all 8 kaijus and you still have Kaiju Slumbers in the wings, then that's just the luck of the draw. Moving away from the kaijus, back to dangers, I love this card. Feats of Strength, it's a good pun too. But I think it's underrated in danger decks. I think people just see like equip spells and think of 2006 meta, but like this is actually kind of insane, because when you equip it to a danger, it can't be destroyed by card effects, which is way more versatile than you would think, and you can do 2 attacks and you gain attack. So you really, it's made for Bigfoot. It's supposed to be for Bigfoot, but you could even put it on Nessie and make him have 2400 attack, or you can put it on Thunderbird. You do have multiple options for that. It doesn't have to be Bigfoot, but it definitely works best on Bigfoot. Making him 3800, can attack twice and can't be destroyed by card effects, like actually makes him a boss monster. And you'd think this is a dead draw, but not really, because you can also just discard it, right? It's more, if like you don't have an opportunity to put it on the field, it's more hand fodder for your discard effects. So it's actually really nice to have in the deck. Then I run 2 Realm of Dangers. It also kind of just helps make the danger cards more consistent as their own win condition. The most important part about it is that your opponent cannot target danger cards with card effects when they are special summoned, which is just really nice. If you somehow get Realm of Danger early, then it just makes you feel a little safer. And then also you can target a danger card once per turn, and it just permanently gets like linked up to the field spell where it can attack directly, and your opponents cannot attack the monster. So when you combined this with Feats of Strength, if you have both of these on a Bigfoot, then you can almost 2-hit KO with just one Bigfoot, and they can't do anything about it, which is pretty cool. Neither of these are like super game-changing, but when it comes to having extra discard fodder, or when it comes to a little bit of more consistency, very rarely do I find myself upset drawing into either of these. I think they're nice to have. If you really want to keep this at 40, you could take out one of the Realm of Dangers, but I think having all of it is good. Then I run 1 Infinite Impermanence, because of course you do, 1 Solemn Judgment, because of course you do, and then the last card, Danger Zone. This is another one of the classic danger pieces before Tsuchinoko. Draw 3 cards, discard 2, at least 1 danger, and if you have no dangers in your hand, show your entire hand and shuffle it into the deck. You do not want that to happen. This is definitely like a last resort card. Also, it's a good bluff. You just put it on the field, and they get scared that it's something like a Solemn Judgment. They think it's one of the other 2 trap cards. It's a good bluff tool. And if you're really down on your luck, there's some crazy shit that can happen off of this thing. I usually recommend not popping it until you have a danger in your hand, because you don't have to discard 2 of the cards you drew, you just have to discard 2 cards at all. So if you have a danger in your hand, then you can keep 2 of the 3 cards you drew and discard 1 random card that you drew and one of the dangers, and that will enable the the discard effect while also drawing cards. The only thing that holds us back is the fact that it's a trap card. That's not very nice, but it technically gives you a way to nuke an opponent's field on their turn by discarding Bigfoot, which is pretty cool. But it's very situational, so I just kind of keep it at 1. So in general, the deck is very destruction heavy, surprisingly control oriented, but it also has the alternate win condition in this guy, and also in Numeron Dragon, which I'll get into right now. So the classic, what you'll figure out quickly about dangers and kaijus, what they have in common is that a lot of them are level 8. So you end up running 4 level 8 kaijus and 6 level 8 dangers. And dangers are really easy to get on the field, and kaijus are really easy to get on the field. So it's not too much to ask to think you're going to get a Bigfoot, a Thunderbird, and a kaiju, any combination of those 3, on your side of the field at any given time. Which is why, if I had another Dogoron, I'd probably run it, because you want 2 level 8s. You want a level 8 kaiju on your side of the field. You could probably even run 3 Dogorons, and then remove 1 Thunder King and 1 Star Destroyer. But I just don't have the URs for it. But so, you're really looking at the level 8 plays, because you can make this guy, Dragoogly Eyes. This guy, the Numeron Dragon OTK is pretty popular, but I'll just explain it real quick. You can activate this guy's effect to special summon an XYZ Dragon with another XYZ Dragon as a material, and then you can't special summon anything anymore, and that's the only thing that can attack. And Numeron Dragon, you can detach its material to give it attack times 1,000 of how many XYZ stars are on the field, so it would automatically be 8,000 plus 1,000, so that's 9,000 total, which is enough to kill in 1 turn. So if you can nuke the field with Kaiju Slumber, and then somehow dispose of the Kaiju with, like, Bigfoot, then you can make this guy and go in for the kill. Pretty easy OTK. I wouldn't call it the most consistent strategy. Like, that's what I try to aim for. That's my, like, normal win condition, but it's very rarely that easy to just do it, right? So that's the basic thing. What you end up having because of Dragoogly Eyes is I remember seeing Heart Earth Dragon in a random deck list. I think it was a Danger Dark World deck list, and you're just using him as the material because he doesn't really do anything important. He's just the easiest material. But then you also, for level 8s, you also have Heretic Sun Dragon Overlord, which is just non-targeting destruction, I believe. Just a general good tech card. You can also make him the same way you would make the Numeron Dragon combo, except you don't have to make you would just make him instead. And he also works as material for Numeron. I always say that wrong. There's also this guy, Hope Harbinger, the longest name in the world. And he's a pretty good, like, turn 1 tech. Once per turn, when a spell card or effect is activated on the field, you can negate it, and if you do, attach that card as material. So it doesn't cost material, which is pretty cool. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can attach a material, change the attack target to this card, and perform the damage. So it's just it's redirection, it's negates, and then if another XYZ monster you control is destroyed, you can target one face-up XYZ monster you control, gain attack equal to one of those destroyed monsters. So yeah, you're not gonna really pull off the third one, but if you're going first and you can make him, then at least he can stifle your opponent a little bit, slow them down enough so that you can get the turn 3 win. This is another great level 8 Orcust. Y'all know what he is. He's just really good, like good destruction. I usually don't make him, but he's nice to have. And then I added this guy recently. I really like this guy. He's another level 8. You can declare a card name and look for it, and if you don't, if you destiny draw it, you get to add it. Otherwise, send the card to the graveyard. And if a card is sent from the deck to the graveyard, so if you get the card, great. If you don't, also good, because you can then detach a material, target one card on the field, and place that target on the top or the bottom of the deck. So it is targeting, but it's not destruction, it's just removal. So that's also really good. So either you get a free card that you wanted, or you can send something to the deck, which is pretty crazy. I don't see him in a lot of deck lists, but I think he has a lot of potential. Then moving away from the level 8s, I run a couple of level 3s, mostly for Tsuchinoko. You'd be surprised how easy it is to get 2 of these guys on the field, and there's also Jackalope as well. Yeah, I run the 2 level 3s, the Sea Dragon. You can detach a material, target one banished level 4 monster, special summon it. That's kind of nice for this guy. It's a better tech for Dark Worlds, honestly, but you know, it has some applications. But then this guy, I usually make this guy instead, 2 level 3s. You can detach a material, target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. So it's real basic destruction. It's not a quick effect, but I mean, it's something, right? If you end up with a bad board, you can try and make something out of Suchi. And then Zeus. He's just Zeus. He's just there. You know, you just like to have him. Then I also run the Nightmare Engine because it's reliable, and even better in Dangers because it works on discarding. Cerberus, you can discard to destroy a monster. Phoenix, discard to destroy a face down. And then Nightmare, Unicorn, discard to... what is it again? I'm tired. Oh yeah, shuffle it into the deck. So that's just really good for can't be destroyed destruction. So, and all of those discard, which all enable danger plays. And then there's also this guy who I found, who I thought was really cool. He's similar to the Nightmare Engine, where you discard a card, but then you can add a field spell from your graveyard to your hand. So that it's really specific. But if you were to like draw into Realm of Danger and discard it just because you got bad luck on a danger roll or you needed a target for monster reincarnation, then this guy can also not only enable your danger plays by discarding, but he also can retrieve that for your dangers, which is pretty cool. I don't think I've done it, but I think it sounds good, so I'm gonna stick with my guns. And then Borload. The fact that you can just yoink things is hilarious. This guy is just a get out of jail free card. He's always been good. I think people just stopped using him for no reason. I think he's still one of the greatest ever. So yeah, the basic combos then. You're really looking to get a Bigfoot and a Thunderbird on the field at the same time, so that you can make Numeron Dragon. Otherwise, just nuke with Kaiju Slumber, get a Thunder King, and then just kill the Gamma Seal and hope your opponent can't really do much with the resources they committed. Usually with Jackalope, I like to summon Thunderbird because it's the easiest way to get Thunderbird on the field. And then usually if I have to discard something, I like to try and focus on discarding Tsuchinoko, because if he gets discarded, I can special summon him anyway, and that can just be good for board presence. You always want to save Chupacabra for when you have a big boy in the graveyard. You never want to waste Chup on like something basic. And then usually with Nessie, I'll search Bigfoot, because Bigfoot's effect in the hand is much better than Thunderbird's, in my opinion. So, yeah, Jackalope for Thunderbird, Nessie for Bigfoot, Chupacabra for Bigfoot, and then Mothman and Suchi are just kind of play extenders. When you Kaiju Slumber, you really want to be giving your opponent Gamma Seal, but don't get greedy, because you might actually want to give yourself the Gamma Seal in order to make a rank 8 play. So don't always just click on Star Destroyer or Thunder King because you think big numbers are good. You want to make sure you're focusing on your level 8 plays first, and if you don't think you can make it, then just plop down Thunder King. And then for this guy, I always try to banish the cards I don't think I'm going to want to retrieve with Monster Reincarnation. So for Arch Nemesis, typically I would banish things like Chupacabra, Mothman, Tsuchinoko, maybe Gamma Seal. You really don't want to be banishing your big monsters. And then also, this deck is full of alternate win conditions, right? You can just force the surrender with Arch Nemesis or Kaiju Slumber. You can do Danger Beatdown by just putting one of these onto your Bigfoot and punching the hell out of your opponent. You can do Numeron Dragon, you can do Borreload Dragons, you can do, you can make a Heretic Sun Dragon and then turn him into a Zeus. And you can always just play the game of attrition. You can always just keep Kaijuing your opponent and really just play the mental war. Let's see. I do love Dangers. This is a really danger-heavy deck, or hand right here. So I would always just set Danger Zone, just to weird out your opponent, make them think it's an infinite impermanence, put it in a column that they expect it to be infinite impermanence, and then they'll play around it. It's funny to watch them squirm. An interesting thing with Dangers, I'm actually kind of glad I drew this hand, is because the order that you discard them is actually really important. So I would... If you were going first, I think I would select Thunderbird first. That might sound a little weird, but hear me out. You have the greatest chance of special summoning Thunderbird by discarding any of these other cards. So you discard Thunderbird first, and if it picks Thunderbird, then you had a 1/4 chance, implying you already put down Danger Zone. You have a 1/4 chance of getting Thunderbird sent to the graveyard, and then no effect procking because there's no face down card. But the 3/4 chance of actually getting Thunderbird out on the field, that's huge, because now you have a chance to make the Hope Dragon. Let's say best case scenario, right? You pick you show Thunderbird and it picks Nessie, right? Then you discard Nessie and you add Bigfoot to your hand, and you also special summon Thunderbird and draw a card. Because when you special summon a danger through their effect, you also draw one. So, oh, Dogoron. Not bad. But so now you have Dogoron, Suchi, and Jackalope in your hand. That's when I would activate Jackalope, because the odds are 2/3 chance that you're not going to discard Jackalope, and you're really hoping that Oh no, you actually are hoping that you're going to be discarding Jackalope. Because then you would be special summoning another Thunderbird. So you might actually want to pick Tsuchinoko first, in the off chance that you end up... yeah, you would pick Tsuchinoko first, not Jackalope, because if it discards Jackalope, then you get Bigfoot on the field, or you get Thunderbird on the field. If it discards Dogoron, you get Tsuchinoko on the field and the free discard on Jackalope. And if it picks Tsuchinoko, then Tsuchinoko goes to the graveyard and you get to special summon him anyway. So you definitely reveal Tsuchinoko there. And then, no matter what happens, you can always reveal Jackalope at the end. And then that will give you a second Thunderbird or a Bigfoot if you want more variety for the chance of Arch Nemesis. And then you can turn those two level 8s into Hope Harbinger, and then you have a decent field. Not the best field, but you have at least a standing chance for a turn 2 comeback. Let's say you're going second, right? Let's say they set and pass. This is a beautiful hand, because what you can actually do is you can give them, it might sound weird, you give them Star Destroyer, and then you summon Dogoron on your side of the field. Now you have a level 8, right? Then you set Solemn Judgment and Monster Reborn. You only have Bigfoot, right? Then you proc Bigfoot. That automatically discards because it's the only card in your hand. It destroys Star Destroyer. Then you can activate the Monster Reborn that you set to get Star Destroyer on your side of the field. Now you have 2 Kaijus and a Solemn Judgment on the field, and then you can attack for 6,300. Or, alternatively to that play, let's say everything lined up until the Monster Reborn, right? You discard Bigfoot, destroy Star Destroyer, you have a Dogoron on your side of the field, Monster Reborn, bring back your Bigfoot that you just discarded. Now you can make Numeron Dragon, 9,000 damage, you can win the game right there. So that's just another example of this deck has some power to it. It does have some power. Oh, and then you get him right off the bat. That's nice. And these 3 are all different, so it would work as long as you're in the graveyard or on the field. As a general last reflection, dangers are cool, but they're unreliable, because sometimes you just discard the danger that you didn't want to discard, or sometimes you get kaijus and your opponent bricks and you can't play the game, and that's also unfortunate, you know. I tried a relinquished kaiju deck at one point, and it was so reliant on my opponent not bricking, but also not being able to negate everything that I do, that it was just impossible to play. Your opponent has to do well enough that it's worth stealing, but it has to be bad enough that it can't prevent being stolen, and that is very rare to see. So relinquished just didn't work. But at least this has so many alternate win conditions that even if your opponent bricks and you can't kaiju, at least you can hope to do dangers. And even if you can't do dangers, at least you can hope to try and make Arch Nemesis. There's a lot of outs, which makes this deck really fun to play. It's very dynamic and interesting. There are a couple of other dangers I didn't go over. There's Danger Dogman, who is just like an attack. He lowers attack of opponents. There's Ouroboros or Ogopogo. Ogopogo. I don't like this guy. I don't even remember what he does. If discarded, you can send 1 danger card from your deck to your graveyard. Yeah, so it's like, that I guess technically could enable like Monster Reborn plays, but when Monster Reborn is at 1, that is nowhere near worth doing. He is a level 8, so you could technically run him if you were really trying to just like cheese out Numeron Dragon. If that was like your number 1 goal, then you could run 3 Ogopogos and just have 9 level 8 dangers. But honestly, I don't think he's worth the fact that he doesn't enable anything. He just kind of ends the combo at himself, and that's not always good for dangers. And then in the realms of kaijus, if you're building a kaiju deck, you don't actually want to have kaiju support. It sounds dumb, but opponents with kaijus can use your own spell cards and spell kaiju counters against you. So I used to try and run Waterfront, but then I would give my opponent a Gamma Seal and they would just negate shit. It was not good times. So I would just recommend foregoing all kaiju support, except for Kaiju Slumber, and just using them as beat sticks. But I think that's it from me. I think I've talked long enough. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the deck, and please comment below. I love reading comments. It's what drives me to make videos. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.